Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. Day 167 of the war in Ukraine. Fierce fighting continues in southern Ukraine, where Russia is concentrating its forces, continuing to attack Ukrainian positions in the Donetsk region using scorched earth tactics. People who collaborated with Russia were detained in Mykolaiv and Odessa. Ukrainian air defence is increasingly successful at intercepting Russian missiles, but the decreasing number of missiles which do get through still cause significant damage. Ukrainian air defence is increasingly successful in intercepting Russian missiles, but those that do get through are destructive. In Uman, 2 people were injured. The authorities urge residents not to ignore anti-aircraft alarms. The actions currently underway will influence the further development of this war. Let's remember how Snake Island was conquered. Let's not lose heart. The enemy is counting on that. It is from the arsenal of the Russian secret services that the rumours and fatigue are spread. Was it easier at the end of February? We all need perseverance and patience. We learn courage every day. On Saturday and Sunday, operations to detect collaborators were carried out in Mykolaiv. During those days, the number of shells in the city and its vicinity decreased significantly. As a result of countermeasures which were carried out under increased control in recent days in Mykolaiv, about 20 proceedings were initiated and 5 wanted persons were detained. A group of people were detected who provided location data via fake social media accounts. In Odessa, we identified and detained people who collected information about the location of strategic facilities, critical infrastructure facilities, and the movement of units of territorial defense forces. The authorities of Ukraine and other countries remind the world that 14 years ago Russia attacked Georgia and is still not fulfilling the ceasefire agreement. Moreover, it is expanding its illegal control over the occupied regions and continues the process of their militarization. In addition, it is actively taking steps to annex the occupied areas. After the war that Russia unleashed against Ukraine, neither the smouldering conflict nor the frozen one should remain. Ukraine must recover everything Russia temporarily seized, and the aggressive state must be punished for its crime. This is important, not only from the point of view of justice. Only the clear defeat of the aggressor, depriving them of all their gains and legal responsibility on the international forum, can prevent the outbreak of any other war. This is what our diplomats are working on. During his visit to South Africa, United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that Russia's war with Ukraine threatens the fundamental principles of the international system. Therefore, it is important to oppose Russian aggression now.
The problem that we have with Russia's aggression against Ukraine is that it's not only an aggression against another country, it's an aggression against the foundational principles of the international system. Multilateralism, something that we both believe in and invest in. The United Nations Charter, which puts at its heart the sovereignty and independence of nations. And it was created in large part to try to, after 2 world wars, to make sure that there wasn't another one. And the basic principles that it established were designed to do that. But if we allow a big country to bully a smaller one, to simply invade it and take its territory, then it's going to be open season, not just in Europe, but around the world. And we'll have repercussions here and repercussions everywhere.
The United States has included the AGM-88 HARM anti-radar missiles in the latest military aid packages for Ukraine. Previously, they donated HIMARS long-range missile artillery systems. More than 6 months have now passed since Russia began its barbaric aggression against Ukraine. The war has shocked the world public opinion, and Western countries continue, to a greater or lesser extent, to help Ukraine defend its sovereignty. However, for years they supported Moscow's policy and did not listen to Polish warnings about the threat of Kremlin imperialism.
Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki gave an interview for the British weekly The Spectator, in which he spoke about the war in Ukraine. The Prime Minister recalled that the West was largely to blame for the present tragic situation, having for years disregarded Moscow's imperial plans. Europe is in the situation it is in today, not because it was insufficiently integrated, but because it did not want to listen to the truth. This voice has been flowing from Poland for many years. Poland does not have a monopoly on the truth, but in matters of relations with Russia, we are, to put it bluntly, much more experienced than others. It has been 14 years since Russia's attack on Georgia. It was then that the late President Lech Kaczynski organized an expedition to Tbilisi of the presidents of Central and Eastern Europe to save Georgia's independence. In retrospect, the words of the Polish president turned out to be prophetic. Today, Georgia, tomorrow, Ukraine. The day after tomorrow, the Baltic states, and later perhaps time will come for my country, Poland. Vladimir Putin has made Western politicians dependent on him for years. One of his close associates is the former German Chancellor, Gerhard Schröder, who after the end of his political career held a sinecure in Russian gas companies. Despite the war in Ukraine, the politician continues to do business in Moscow. The German Social Democrats, who currently co-govern the country, see no problem in this. He was literally corrupted in broad daylight by Moscow, by the Kremlin, and was involved in many very dirty operations, sourcing especially social democratic conduits in Europe for Putin's various plans, but also for money laundering on a massive scale. And everybody knew. After Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014, the European Union imposed sanctions on Moscow, but the wealthy states of the EU continued to trade arms with Moscow. Germany, France, Italy, Spain. These agreements continued. This was not included in the sanctions. Poland was the largest country in the European Union that did not sell arms to Russia after 2014. This is something to be aware of. Since Vladimir Putin took over, Russia attacked Chechnya and Georgia, annexed Crimea, and as a result sparked a war with Ukraine. The West had many years to react appropriately, but it ended up with statements and empty gestures. Instead of sanctions, cooperation was strengthened in some sectors. The most striking example is the Nord Stream gas pipeline. The key position was that of Germany, which hoped to play the most important role as far as the European continent was concerned, based on precisely this type of dependency within such a community. Since the beginning of the war, Poland has accepted over 5 million refugees from Ukraine. After Washington, Warsaw is the largest supplier of armaments to Kiev. Despite this, the European Commission still does not pay Poland the money due from the National Reconstruction Plan and tries to exert more and more influence on Polish internal policy.
British-born Australian singer and actress Olivia NewtonJohn died yesterday at the age of 73. Best known as the star of the musical Grease, she had been struggling with cancer for many years. She died at her estate in California. With a touching post on Twitter, her co-star John Travolta said goodbye to her. "My dearest Olivia, you made all our lives so much better. Your impact was incredible. I love you so much. We will see you down the road and we will be able to be together again. Yours from the first moment I saw you and forever. Your Danny, your John." Olivia Newton-John has achieved incredible success as a singer, selling more than 100 million records and singles worldwide. In 1974, she represented the United Kingdom in the Eurovision Song Contest, where she came fourth, with that year's winner being Waterloo, sung by ABBA. She gained much popularity for her role in the 1978 musical Grease, in which she starred alongside John Travolta. When director Randall Kleiser chose his pair of characters, Travolta already had Saturday Night Fever in the works. Olivia Newton-John, on the other hand, was already a pop music superstar. In 1992, the singer was diagnosed with breast cancer. After her recovery, Olivia Newton-John became an advocate for health issues and breast cancer and built the Olivia Newton-John Cancer and Wellness Centre in Melbourne, Australia. She also released a cookbook of healthy recipes in 2012. Yesterday, FBI agents carried out searches at the mansion of former United States President Donald Trump and removed boxes of documents. Investigators are already interested in documents taken by the former president from the White House to Florida. Trump himself believes he is the victim of political persecution to block his path to the presidency in 2024.
These are dark times for our nation, as my beautiful home, Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida, is currently under siege, raided, and occupied by a large group of FBI agents. Nothing like this has ever happened to a president of the United States before. After working and cooperating with the relevant government agencies, this unannounced raid on my home was not necessary or appropriate. It is prosecutorial misconduct, the weaponization of the justice system, and an attack by radical left Democrats who desperately don't want me to run for president in 2024, especially based on recent polls, and who will likewise do anything to stop Republicans and conservatives in the upcoming midterm elections. Such an assault could only take place in broken third world countries. Sadly, America has now become one of those countries, corrupt at a level not seen before. They even broke into my safe. What is the difference between this and Watergate, where operatives broke into the Democrat National Committee? Here in reverse, Democrats broke into the home of the 45th President of the United States. A small group of Trump supporters gathered outside the former president's Mar-a-Lago residence to demonstrate.
In my own opinion, I think it's another unjust, made-up thing like the impeachment hoaxes. And same with the January 6th. Because Trump didn't do anything wrong with January 6th because he ordered the National Guard. Nancy Pelosi denied it.
Biden administration, the Democrats are weaponizing the FBI, and it has to stop. The FBI is not here to weaponize against another president. It never has happened before.
The U.S. Justice Department has launched an early-stage investigation into Trump's removal of official presidential records to his Florida estate. A source familiar with the matter said in April. At that time, the U.S. House of Representatives Oversight Committee announced that it was expanding an investigation into Trump's actions and asked the archives to turn over additional information. Trump previously confirmed that he had agreed to return certain records to the archives, calling it an ordinary and routine process.
That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, Poland Daily Business and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.